Welcome back to Rebel Movement Podcast. My name is Billy. My pronouns are they, them, or she, her, and I'm really glad you're here. If you've been around for a little bit, you might know lately I've been doing a lot of interviews, and every fifth episode is one with just me. And this time we had a little extra special one last week um, to commemorate my late cat. I never know how to say this. My cat, that was my best friend that died um, a year ago and ended up getting a little sentimental. I mean, who would have guessed? I talked a little bit about unconditional love and finding it in unexpected places. So this week, I mean, it is the fifth episode, but also it is extra special because it's my birthday on Monday. Currently, like when you're listening, I mean, it's my birthday on the 1st of July. When I'm recording this, it's still like a week or two away, but um, I so I'm going to talk a little bit about my birthday and why, like about it in general. And then I've decided to be kind of cute to do like 31, 32. Oh my God, 33 things I've learned in my 33 years. And this is not an extensive list, and I didn't really think too much about it, but I just thought it would be cute. So we will go into that. So stay tuned. Also, I would love to hear your list. If you're like your birthday's coming soon or you have a list of your own, I'd love to hear it. Before we get to any of that, just in case this is your first episode, I want to introduce myself a little bit and tell you about who I am and why I have this podcast and what I do. So, I mean, you already know my name is Billy. I'm a non-binary queer person who has survived all different types of trauma, including CSA and emotional abuse and a lot of grief and eating disorders. And I have been through a lot. And when I first started to teach yoga, I started to teach because it made a huge difference. It was like a life-changing practice for me. And I wanted to help other people the way that yoga had helped me. I wanted to give that tool to other people because it like saved my life multiple times. And then I got trained in different modalities of movement. Like I can do mobility and workout classes and all that kind of thing. And when the pandemic hit, I lost my job, both my jobs actually. And all of a sudden I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Like my whole plan has just crumbled before me, my life plan. And partially out of necessity, I started my own business, teaching online classes, taking one-on-one clients, doing group classes, all on Zoom. And when I first started, I mean, I liked what I did when I first started, but it was a lot of what other people might want and not a lot of like, I didn't, because I'd never really been my own, I never been a business owner before. I'd never been my own boss. So I never really had the freedom to be like, do I want to do this? Is this how I want to do this? So a little bit in, I started to get a little bit more confident and a little bit more safe to explore that a little bit. And by this point, I had seen someone who helped me to learn what diet culture is and how it impacts people. And I had it changed my life forever. Jillian Murphy, just in case you are new here, I think I talked about her a lot when I very first started recording. Um, and at the time, Jillian was doing a lot of coaching around leaving diet culture and healing your relationship with food. So, it had been something that I was reading a lot about, and it was something I was obviously very interested in and passionate about. And I started to talk more about it. And then as I started to talk more about it, I started to include it in a very big way in my teaching and in my business. And it kind of, as I started to be more vocal and brave about being vocal about my values, being trauma informed, being against spiritual bypassing, being against diet culture, and a lot of other icky, oppressive systems had a really big impact on how I went about teaching and how I ran my business. It's like the foundation of it is my values. And just in case you're interested in hearing, like learning more about my values, they are on my website. It's under about, and I don't know if it's the second or third one down. Um, I should say values. It should be pretty easy to find. And I will I often link it in newsletters and stuff. But anyway, um, so long story short, I gave you the long version today. I am a person who teaches yoga and mobility and workout style classes online, one-on-one, in groups, sometimes in person too. And I love it. I love it because our bodies are really cool. It's so interesting to meet people and learn, like help them learn how their body works and like how everyone's so individual and our histories and all these other like all these other factors have such a big play such a big role in how we feel in our bodies. I love the physical part of teaching. Like I love the physical practice. I love movement and I love that part of it. And I am a person that teaches this way in a very intentionally anti-diet way. And I love that part of it too. I love all of the parts of what I do and how I teach and everything. So with that said, when I do my one-on-ones, it's a little bit more depending on what the person wants, of course, because it's all led by you. You have the big, I say the big say. Does that make sense? Um, it's all led by you. And in the one-on-ones, we tend to do a little bit more unpacking of how diet culture has affected your relationship with movement and help you to heal your relationship to your body and to feel better in your body in more than just a physical way. And I love it. There's an air conditioner running in the background, so I'm not 100% sure if you can hear it, but it's way too hot today to turn it off. So we'll have to see in editing what we can do. But that's what I do and why I do it. I absolutely love it. And I have this podcast because there's a lot more that I'm really passionate about and things that I wish were more more common conversations. It's also a really nice way for you to get to know me a little bit better in a different way. And then some of the episodes are fun and then some of the episodes are more educational and they all kind of can give you an idea of my values and some of it's just stuff that like I like to talk about. Maybe it's a little more self-serving because I'm talking about it because I like it. And then a lot of times it's stuff that I still like talking about it, but it's stuff that I think should be out there way more. So, and that I think can help you. So I try to use this podcast as a way of giving you a lot of free resources and education and raising awareness. And also I try to have fun with it too. So there's my long intro. Even if you've been here for a while, it can be kind of nice to get do a little recap for you. So if you are interested in working with me in any capacity, there should be links below. But my website is movewithbillie.com, or you can find me on Instagram, movewithbillie, Billie. And you can ask me as many questions as you need to, as you want to. And I do post movement videos on my social medias too. So you can always request videos or whatever, or episode topics. Anyway, I'm going to cut the intro and I'm going to go into why I'm talking about my birthday and kind of my relationship with my birthday, if that makes sense. So when I was younger, when I was a kid, obviously I loved my birthday. We always had, I think I love my birthday. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I remember loving the Dairy Queen ice cream cake. And if you don't know, I'm gluten-free. Like I can't eat gluten. And I'm a little devastated that I can't. So I'm hoping that I can make a gluten-free version this year. Cross your fingers for me. I hope it's still going to be really good. Anyway, loved that. We also had this I'm telling you the food part, but that's the part that I remember the most. Also, there was always fireworks in Canada, and my friends usually, if I did something that night, would want to go to the fireworks and leave early or whatever, and I'd be all sad. But the other food we used to eat is, I don't know what you call it. It's like this tuna salad that like I feel like everybody's and their mom made. Back then, it's like pasta, tuna, peas, cheese, mayonnaise. Easy. It was delicious. It's pretty easy and kind of plain, but whatever. Anyway, when I got a little older, I felt a little bit, I had a hard time with my birthday, to be honest with you. I have a hard time still like being the person that plans. Because like I want to celebrate for sure. And I like to feel important or to feel loved, I guess is a better way of saying it. But it feels like because of the stuff I've been through, it feels really selfish for me to celebrate, to like accept it or to ask for it or to plan anything. So for a long time, I like struggled. I wouldn't plan anything and then I'd feel sad. And then I would plan things and I have a really hard time picking things like and being afraid of other people not liking it or whatever. Um, and I struggle to like advertise as my birthday. And I think it's for the same kind of thing as like, I mean, everyone likes to feel important. Um, it is nice, but it's difficult sometimes to get past the like, for me, past this voice that says that it's selfish, which is not, it's not. If I'm telling you, if I'm like talking to somebody else about their birthday, I would say it's not selfish. And I would say plan a whole month. But that's something that I've struggled with. Um, this year in particular feels very like a very big deal because I mean, I'm turning 33 and my dad passed away when he was 33 and 3 days old. So I'm very close to being older than my dad ever was, which if anyone else has had a parent pass away and they've gotten to this point, I feel like you know how this feels. It's like a very, I don't really have words for it. Like part of me when I was little just assumed I would also not make it past 33. I don't know if it's just like the things little kids think of or believe. Um, and it's just, it is significant. I can't really explain it. It just feels really significant for me. So it's a big deal. 33. I mean, 33 in 3 days. I wonder if that'll be the next episode that comes out. It'll be an interview, but I just didn't do the math. No, I guess it'd be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. All right. Well, next episode officially will be older than, or I guess the Friday. Anyway, what I'm saying is I went back and forth a little bit, but truthfully, I am trying to remind myself that we all deserve to be celebrated sometimes. And honestly, truthfully, this year, more than any other year, it feels extremely significant and a huge deal that I have made it this far. And I don't mean that I'm like as old as my dad was. I mean that I made it through all the hell that I went through as a kid and getting older. I've made it through a lot and I'm pretty fucking proud of that. And I I feel like that deserves to be celebrated in itself. So, you know what? I don't need to explain to you why this is significant. I bet you any money, knowing the people that listen to this podcast, or just I don't know all of you personally because the number's a little bit bigger now. But if you're listening and if you made it this far, I'm taking a wild guess that you have similar values to me, and you would also tell your friends to celebrate their birthdays. So why am I sitting here justifying celebrating mine? That's odd. You're getting real time processing here. I didn't do that intentionally, but whatever. Okay. Should we go to the list? I'm going to pull it up on my phone here. So 33 things I've learned in my 33 years. Number one, wear the clothes you want. Trends fade. I don't know if this is just because I'm older, but I don't think I ever really cared about trends, particularly now when it's like younger generations are saying, "Oh, you can't wear skinny jeans, whatever." Like, I don't care. I'm just going to wear what I like and whatever. Like I spent way too many years trying to wear clothes that like I wouldn't say it was trendy, but I was still trying to fit in some shape or form. And I would wear clothes that didn't really feel like me. And I wear clothes that are uncomfortable. That's another part of this. Life's too short for uncomfortable clothes. Like I wore the most uncomfortable shoes for so long because I thought they were trendy. I thought they'd be like cool. My feet got fucked up. I got shin splints for like 7 years. When older people, when you're working like your first service job, if someone says, "Hey, just so little heads up, if you keep wearing those shoes, you're gonna fuck your feet up," listen to them, please. I didn't listen to them. Please do listen to them. They're not joking. It will fuck your feet up. And you will spend 7 years with shin splints. But yeah, like just wear the clothes you want. Wear the clothes that make you feel comfortable. Wear the clothes that make you feel cool. I've lately been going more towards the comfortable part, but the difference, I like the difference between how I feel when I wear something that I'm like, I feel like I like the clothes I'm in versus how I used to dress, you know, 7 years ago when I was just trying to fit in and wear, wore clothes that people around me would like, or that, whoever in my life said was cute. It's a huge difference. So worth it for sure. Oh, also, speaking of clothes, this is a little bonus one. Just like donate the clothes that don't fit you. Don't keep them in your closet for a day. You might be a smaller version of yourself. I won't go into that too far because there's, I mean, there'll be many rants, but I think that comes in later on if I'm remembering correctly. So, number one, wear the clothes you want. Fuck trends or trends fade, whatever. Number two, you will never please everyone. Just going to leave that out there. You will never please everyone. In fact, if you spend your whole life or all of your day, all of your energy trying to please everyone, you will burn out. You will feel shit, and you still will not please everyone because you just can't. You are important, and your needs are important. You do not have to please everyone. You never will. So fuck it. You know what? How many people can you piss off today? That's what I want to know. By setting your boundaries, not being mean. Don't be mean. Be nice. But honestly, though, by being nice and setting boundaries, like how many people can you piss off? Tell me. I honestly, if even one of you sends me an email and says like, "Hey, took your advice. I pissed off 4 people today. Here's the story." I will you know what? That's my birthday present. Send me that email right now or tomorrow once you do it. That feels cute. Okay. I'm gonna double check here that yeah, captions are still working. I'm still recording. There's like a little version of the screen when I'm recording and I have another app open, but I overthink everything, so I just want to make sure that it's not stopping. Number three is kind of goes off number two. Not everyone is gonna like you. And I just want you to listen for a second because I know that there's some of you out there who are people pleasers, and these last two are gonna hit, and you're like, how you're just getting right into it. The first two, the first three. I am saying these things because I'm a people pleaser. I spent most of my life putting other people's needs before mine, trying to please everybody, trying to like sacrifice parts of myself in order for people to like me or to be safe. And they're not worth it. You are worth the time and the space, and you are worth more than people liking you. So don't hold back being you because of some asshole who makes you feel like you're too much. This is like one big pep talk. Okay, number four. If someone tells you 50 times they're a nice person, they're probably not a nice person. I don't know if this is just a trend in my life. I don't think so, because I've had this conversation with quite a few people. If you are, it's just like talking the talk so much that you're trying to distract us from the fact that you're not walking the walk. If you have to tell me, 500 times you're a really nice person, you're a really nice person. I'm just a really nice person. I don't, you're not a nice person. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Show me. Number five, mental illness or trauma doesn't make you less valuable as a person. You don't have less value or less to bring to the world or less to bring to the workspace or less to bring to the relationship because of mental illness. Also, side one, little bonus, you can be loved if you don't love yourself. You can be loved. You deserve love, even if you don't love yourself yet. That's a big one. That should have been on this list. Okay, 6. These ones are hard. They're getting right to the heart of everything. I mean, not everything. That's a pretty big statement. Anyway, number 6, childhood trauma, whatever it was for you, wasn't your fault. Okay? Whatever you went through, whether it was abuse, whether you lost somebody, whether you were, whatever you went through as a kid, it was not your fault. You were a kid. There were adults around you that should have taken care of you, and you deserved to be taken care of. It is not your fault. Number 7, talk about the taboo shit. The more we talk about taboo shit, the less power it has over us, the less shame we feel if we have a hard time with it. For example, self-harm, something that I really struggled with for a lot of my life. And I didn't talk about it for a really long time. But when I started to talk about it, it became not like it cured it and made it completely easy to never do again. But when I did start to talk about it, it became a lot more normalized in the sense that I knew I was not alone with it. It wasn't my flaw or my fault or my mess up. It was a thing that other people struggled with too. Number 8, air conditioning is making a weird sound, interrupting me. Number 8, we all fuck up. You're gonna fuck up. You've probably fucked up many times in the past, and you're gonna fuck up even more times in the future. But that's okay. It's not about being perfect because that's not human. If you're perfect all the time, I think you're an alien. I mean, or you're more likely you're just faking it. We see this highlight reel all the time on social media. I try really hard to do the opposite. Not the opposite, but to try to just be real and show you the difficult stuff because life is not a highlight reel. And if that's all we show, then like it's just going to make other people around us feel not good enough. And I can't stand for that. So just remember, we all fuck up. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Number 9, don't shrink yourself to make someone else more comfortable. This can mean literally diet culture and eating disorder, or it could mean shrinking your personality, holding yourself in a small way. I am a person who, as I said, grew up with CSA, emotional abuse, and I was basically trained to make myself smaller to make everyone else more comfortable, to be less silly, to be less emotional, or try to be less emotional, to have less reactions, to never have boundaries, to make myself smaller physically, make myself less noticeable, try not to make any sound, not be seen, not be heard so that I could stay safe. And it makes sense that I did those things because they did help me stay safe, but they are not, unless I feel like this is repeating myself, they're not worth that. You shouldn't have to make yourself smaller to make other people more comfortable. Fuck them. I want you to show up your whole self, whatever that means, whether you are wearing like rainbow unicorn outfits. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a bright thing, or whether it means you're, laughing loudest or telling the jokes or whatever. Like, do it. And then you might lose people, yes, but you're going to find people who are like stoked about you for who you are and who are going to absolutely love to spend time with you. So don't shrink yourself. 10, diet industry. Okay, I'm going to say the start of this again. The diet industry or weight loss industry is a multiple billion-dollar industry. Their marketing budget must be fucking enormous because they make their money off of making you feel shame or making you feel bad about yourself. So next time you're having a hard day with your body, remember that the diet industry is multiple billion-dollar, like hundreds of billions of dollars, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like $318 billion in one of the years more recently. You are having a hard time with your body some days is because you grew up in a society with an anti-fat bias, not because you're not trying hard enough in your healing journey. Number 11. I'm like going through these really quickly, but if you want a whole episode on some of these, I totally could do a whole episode on probably all of these. Maybe I will do that. I don't know. Let me know if you want it. Number 11, it won't always be hard. It might be hard right now, and maybe it'll be hard tomorrow, but it's not going to be difficult forever. Things will get easier. Number 12, change is inevitable. This one's a hard one for most people. Change is really hard and really scary, but it's inevitable. It will happen, and it's going to be okay. What was the one before this? Refer to number 11. It won't always be hard. Number 13, you will lose friends. I had this thing in my life, and also this has happened with a few of my friends where you are starting to get to know yourself a little bit more and starting to heal and like um and then all of a sudden like learning, expect or wanting better for yourself or better treatment, and all of a sudden your friends are like not in your life anymore, or you're having to set boundaries with them when you're realizing like, oh my God, these people are not my friends. Look at how they treat me. It's not because of you, right? Like it's not, you are not the problem. I mean, I can't say that exactly for sure because I don't know you listening specifically and I don't know your history. But if you've gone through this thing, like I had to cut contact with my abusers, like emotional abusers, which is like my mother and sister. And when that happened, I lost quite a few people, family and friends who, I mean, for various reasons, maybe some of them sided with them, maybe some of them just didn't want to go there. But I also had some people who I recognized were not being very, like, were not treating me very well. And sometimes it takes us a little while to recognize the way we deserve to be treated and the difference in how our friends are treating us or how our so-called friends are treating us. And then sometimes you just lose touch. Sometimes you grow apart. Sometimes random shit happens and you may never know why. You're like, what the heck just happened? I'm getting whiplash emotionally from trying to figure it out, but you can't figure it all out. It's just going to happen sometimes, and you'll make new friends. 14, don't second guess your boundaries because someone else doesn't respect them. I feel like that doesn't need to be clarified. Don't second guess your boundaries because someone else doesn't respect them. I will say as a little um clarification, a boundary is not something that you are expecting someone else to change. It's something that you are doing and you are holding, and you are the one holding the boundary. Does that make sense? Like you can't say it's my boundary that you never eat ice cream. It's a really weird one. I mean, that wouldn't be a boundary, but you could say if you continue to eat my ice cream, I'm gonna stop calling you back. Doesn't make sense, but you get what I mean. Like it's something that you hold. You can't dictate other people's um, realities. Okay, that one got complicated. Let's move on. 15, showing up is scary. The worst that can happen is they don't like you, and then you can go back to that previous one, and not everyone's going to like you, and that's fine. Showing up is scary, whether it's like you're playing a show or you're showing up in your business or you're trying to make a new friend. It's scary. And the worst that can happen is not as bad as what our brain tells us it is. Honestly, you're not going to die if the person in front of you doesn't like you, or if you mess up the song in the show, it's going to be fine. 16, you're braver than you think. You are braver than you think. 17, you'll probably never stop drinking coffee. This is very particular to me. I tried a couple times to stop drinking coffee, hate it, never doing it again. um, that's it. I'm not going to stop drinking coffee. I don't give a fuck. Coffee is in my life forever. 18, imposter syndrome is common and it's not a correct voice. I like to remind myself that imposter syndrome is not something that just I go through. And I don't mean that in like a self-absorbed way. I mean this because if it's something that a lot of people go through, the common factor is the systems we were raised in. Maybe the common factor is capitalism, late stage capitalism, colonialism. Maybe it's not just us. 19, your inner critic is lying to you. We can be really mean to ourselves. And I hope that you already know this, but that voice in your head is not right, which is like worst case scenario, super critical. This is something that we sometimes go into a little bit in one-on-ones, but one thing that I will say sometimes can be helpful is trying to recognize where this voice came from, because not your opinion, whose opinion is it? And then depending on what it is, sometimes it can be helpful to give that voice a name and be like, you know what, fuck off. Not telling you not to feel your feelings and not to like go through all those things in therapy. I mean, if you're like really struggling with it and you need a little extra like rebel in your day, name your inner critic and then tell it to fuck off. Number 20, other people don't always know more than you. I don't know if other people feel this as well. I guess it kind of goes with imposter syndrome, but sometimes I have a hard time. I think it's because of my history, but sometimes I have a hard time if I'm in a conversation with someone and it's a topic that I know a lot about. And especially certain personalities, if they're like more, I guess it's when in conversations where they're not listening or not like meeting you where you're at or very respectful or whatever, where they're like, this is the thing. No, 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 you're wrong. It's this. Immediately, even if I've like studied this thing for forever, I really struggle to like, some part of my brain was just trained that like they know more than me and I don't know anything. Probably because I was gaslit my whole life. That's not the case. I mean, everyone knows there's going to be someone who knows more than you in most in most cases. Like I don't know everything there is to know about everything there is to know. There's always a more expert out there. That doesn't mean that I don't know things. Doesn't mean that what I know is wrong. It doesn't mean I should be discounted. You know what I mean? Number 21, I think. Yep. You are the expert of your own body. Listen to the episode that I did with Wolfie. I don't know how many weeks ago now. It's transitioning young. And in it, Wolfie says, you may have gone to university for whatever subject, but I went to university for me. I went to university for my body. Powerful fucking quote. I'm going to probably use that till I for forever. Um, you are the expert of your own body. And I mean, I say that a lot, but just the way that Wolfie said it was so fucking awesome. 22. Sometimes it takes a while to figure out your gender identity and sexual orientation. Don't rush it. I really struggled with this when I was in high school. Well, growing up, honestly. When I was growing up, it wasn't really like terms like non-binary either didn't exist or just were not known about. I don't know. I have no idea. It wasn't talked about. It wasn't well known. Similar with pansexual. And I just, especially with sexual orientation, I really struggled because I didn't feel like I fit in with straight. I didn't feel like I fit in um with lesbian. And I didn't feel like I fit in with being bisexual either. Like all of those felt wrong. And I really carried a lot of shame around not knowing. And like I like considered myself straight for a bit, and then I considered myself bi for a bit, and then I went back and forth, and then I was like, I don't fucking know. And then I heard the term pansexual and was like, oh my God, that's it. And it just like everything clicked. In terms of figuring out I was non-binary, for a long time, I like admired like the term I admired non-binary as a thing. Does that make sense? And it was something I wanted to be. I wished I could be almost. I just discounted that I was like, oh no, I'm not queer enough. I'm not non-binary enough to be non-binary. Um, I really got in my head about it. And my friend, um, there's a conversation. It was like episode 54, I think. How do you know if you're non-binary? We go into that a lot. How my friend and I figured out we were both non-binary. My friend is one that really helped me and sort of guided me that like I decide. I decide that I'm non-binary. And it was like, and I am. It's up to me. It's my choice. And also it's not really a choice. It's just like who we are. Anyway, that's a bigger topic. I also felt that about being queer. Like I had a hard time feeling like this goes into the next one. I always felt like, oh, I'm not queer enough to call myself queer. And it was kind of made worse by some other queer people who were in a previous community I was in or part of or close to that kind of put that out there a little bit, not intentionally, but that goes into the next one. There's nothing wrong with you if you're unsure if you're of your gender identity. I guess that's, oh no, that's it. Um, there's nothing wrong with you if you're unsure of your gender identity or sexual orientation. And then the next one, 24, is feeling like you're not queer enough doesn't mean you're actually not queer enough. Both really big things that I spent years of my life coming to terms with. 25, we all have internal biases, and it's our job to look into them. We all have them. You grew up in a society that was full of racism, anti-fat bias, homophobia, um, oh, I forgot the word, misogyny, and all of the isms, ableism, and that means we all were taught internal biases. Then it's our job to look into them and try to learn better. Try to learn better so that we could do better. 26. Being blood related to somebody doesn't mean they're family. Let's say that one more time. Being blood related to somebody doesn't mean you're family. Similar vein, 27. Nobody has the right to abuse you or talk down to you or disrespect you, not even your parent or siblings. 28. Social justice work isn't about being an expert. It's about practicing and listening and trying to do better and trying to ask for better. And a lot of the times, it can also be about raising other people's voices. That's the thing. And this is fully my opinion. I don't think that being someone who does social justice work is about placing yourself as the expert in doing it. It's about learning from people who are experts, people who have firsthand experience, and raising their voices and doing better at listening, and then educating for sure when it calls for it, or just showing up in that way of where you're like trying to constantly learn and raise voices, raise other people's voices, and are actively wanting a better world. 29. You can have a conversation with someone with a different opinion than you without insulting them. And you can learn a lot from these conversations. I think that learning to have a conversation with someone who has opposite opinions of you or different opinions than you is one of the is such an amazing skill to learn. Because if we go into a conversation with someone that has opposite opinions of us in a way that's like, I'm right, you're wrong, and like very closed minded, it's just going to shut them down. No one's going to respond to that. Instead, if we have a conversation where we can learn from the other person, we might be able to also educate the other person, or maybe we can educate ourselves if we're wrong about something. One of my biggest tips, I guess, would be to listen to what the other person has to say, or say like, this was my understanding of this situation or this policy or this whatever. How do you see it? And then actually listening to them and trying to understand what their perspective is. And if it isn't a more extreme thing, it might be like, okay, totally see that you feel this way. I think this is the case, and like maybe table the conversation or pause the conversation for a bit. I'm not meaning if you're speaking to someone who's like very loudly racist or homophobic, like I'm not saying you necessarily have to respond to bigotry by listening better. I mean the conversations with like your boss or your friend at work who has different opinions than you. There's a way of like having those conversations and it still being a safe space for both of you where you can both learn and then still work together without like feeling really weird about it. 30, nobody has their shit together. Nobody does. We're all faking it. Nobody fucking knows what they're doing. 31, being vegan doesn't work for everybody. I was vegan and vegetarian for a long time and I have a lot of allergies. I was like very unwell. It was not working for me. And this is just for my life. I'm not a person who would now shame anyone for what they eat ever. And I don't really think I was then, but I really struggled with when I stopped being vegan, I struggled with the morality of it. And it wasn't until I like really recognized that like my health is pretty important and I'm not good to anybody if I'm going to be sick or, so exhausted I can't do anything. It was helpful for me to recognize that veganism doesn't work for everybody or vegetarian doesn't work for everybody. And with this, there's a whole conversation about access to food and poverty and cultural food practices, and the way that vegan alternatives are made that is missing from the veganism conversation. Veganism doesn't automatically mean moral hierarchy. And if you're going around shaming people for their cultural food practices, like you need to look in the mirror because you're not doing fuck all. Getting bold. I guess this whole thing has been bold. We are at 32. If someone isn't willing to see your perspective, and belittle your feelings, they're not for you. Kind of similar coming back to like, you can't please everybody. If you have someone in your life who's always shitting on your perspective or making your feelings feel invalid or making you feel like shit about yourselves, they're not for you. They don't deserve a spot in your life. They don't you don't you deserve better. 33, memory loss doesn't mean memories are gone forever or that the memories are not true. This one is really hard. Healing from something you don't remember the details of is a fucking mind fuck. It's a lot of work. It's really difficult, and that's one of the biggest lessons I learned from it. Is it's like a really big act in trusting your body, because the memory, the in my case, and in a similar case, like often the physical, emotional memory and the like visual memory are kind of separated because they have to be in order for me anyway. They have to be in order for me to survive. I get the physical memory and then I get the visual memory afterwards when I'm ready. But learning how to hold space for the physical feelings without having the visual is a really big act of trusting myself and trusting my body. And part of with something like CSA, I was young and then I proceeded to live with someone who was involved for a while after, someone that I lived with. And in order to survive that situation, and as I said, I was in an emotionally abusive house too. In order to survive that, I had to lock down the memories really, really fucking far down. And the first step in my healing journey has been, which was like a year and a bit ago, was to accept that I am a survivor of CSA. And when I first started, I had none of the memories, just some of the feelings. And this like itch at the back of my brain that had been there for years and years and years and years. And I just kept turning away from it until I finally was like, I can't keep turning away from this. So I looked right at it. And that was the first step. And then afterwards, there was evidence provided to me from other people in my family, other people who I knew then, I should say, who so it was like it was a really I had by that point I did believe myself and I did trust myself. But it was really validating to get. I feel like I'm lucky is an awful word to say in this context, but it felt helpful to have the validation. And then the next step, it goes every single time, because I'm still continuously having memories come up. It's just a big act of trust. So memory loss does not mean the memories are not true or that things didn't happen, and they might not be gone forever. That's a sad thing to end on. So I'm going to add in one more bonus one. And I'm borrowing this from my friend Sandra, who was on the podcast a while ago. Life is too short for bad books or boring books. If you start a book and you're like, what the fuck, I hate this, go ahead, close the book, put it in your bag, drive to the thrift shop or the library, donate it, or give it back if it's a friend's, or if you borrowed it from the library, give it back. But just take it off your to be read list. You can go ahead. You can just say that you read it on Goodreads. Full permission to do that. You did try. You gave an effort, and then just take it out of your life forever. If it's a book that you need to know about, like if it's, I mean, this is not if you're in like high school and you have books to read for school. Okay, you should do your homework. But if it's a book that, like, I had this with Pictures of Dorian Gray or something, I struggled with that book. I couldn't do it. And this is actually when I had this conversation with Sandra, and that's what Sandra said, life's too short for boring books. And then she was like, because I had the reason I wanted to read it is because I feel like it's referenced in a lot of different movies and I don't know what it's about. And then I think Sandra just gave me like a synopsis, but you could always look at the Spark Notes. Like just Google the synopsis. if you need to know about the plot or you feel like it's a culturally significant thing, if you really hate the book, like life's too short, there's so many good books out there. Read those instead. Okay. This was like my 31, 33. I keep saying the wrong year. 33. And then like, I think there was 3 or 4 bonuses in there. Things that I learned in my 33 years. I would love to hear yours. Thank you for spending the time with me to do this. This is kind of fun. I hope that the sound quality is okay enough with the air conditioner in the background and the occasional dog bark. I might just leave it in there because I think it's normal in its life, and I'm not out here pretending I'm perfect. If you would like to celebrate with me, you can buy me a coffee or tip me. I'm trying to switch to tip me because that feels a little bit less weird to say. There is an option in the show notes where you can leave me a tip, and you can even sign up to give me a tip every single month. And it's as low as like $3 Canadian. So if you like, whether you're like, I want to celebrate your birthday and I want to send you something, and I am saying this because last year I had people ask me, then you can use that button or ko-fi.com/move with Billy. I think it should be like a picture of me, and there should be stuff on there. Or if you're like, I love your work and I really want to support the podcast, and I just like, and you have the means to do so, I would love it if you would leave me a $3 tip once a month to help me keep doing this podcast with all of these amazing interviews, because I love this. And I would really love to keep doing it and have the ability to keep doing it and the means to keep doing it, because I do have an employee named Elise who's fantastic, and she does all of the transcripts for the podcast. It was amazing work, and I'm so grateful for her. I could not do that myself, and I really appreciate it. And also, this is like quite a lot of my time. I'm not saying anyway, a lot of my time. I deserve it. Tip me. Thank you very much. Follow me on Instagram, and I mean, you can follow me other places too, TikTok and Facebook. I spend more of my time on Instagram. If you really want to hang out with me, though, go subscribe to my newsletter. I put out newsletters every week. I try to give you lots of good content, lots of like juicy, helpful, free shit there. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a fantastic day, fantastic week. I'm excited to receive your gift of stories and money. And what was that other thing I said previously? Oh, how many people did you piss off? I'm serious. I want to know. Okay. Bye.